Bill Hamilton has endured plenty of death-defying adventures on the western frontier.
Here they come.
All right, let's take cover. Wait for my orders.
But when a huge Bannock war party threatens to overwhelm his traffic brigade, Hamilton faces the fight of his young life. Far outnumbered, the mountain men have just one option: lure their enemy into a trap.
Hold on, lads. Keep your nerves.
In seconds, Hamilton and his comrades will win a stunning victory.
Steady.
Or die trying.
Steady. Fire. Fire, Bill, now. Do it.
Bill Hamilton becomes one of the last great mountain men. But he's the last person anyone expected to become a legend.
Hamilton had a remarkable transformation from a sort of sickly young city boy, a dude as he would have been called in the West, who became one of the most impressive frontiersmen out in the far West.
And he also has a unique ability that sets him apart from almost everyone else, and that's his facility with Plains Indian Sign Language.
Bill Hamilton showed just how an adaptable person with the right attributes could find great success along the American frontier.
Hamilton's storied career gets off to a bumpy start.
Hamilton is from a wealthy St. Louis family, but he is sickly as a youth, and the prescription, as was often the case, is to head west. And so that's exactly what he does.
Well, camp, all the rest of the guys had to work.
Hey, old Bill.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Is that Bill Williams?
Yes, it is. Hey, old Bill. This young kid would like to meet you.
Yeah, what we got here?
Pleased to meet you, sir. We're kin.
Bill Hamilton's family had connections with the family of old Bill Williams, who was regarded as one of the elite amongst the mountain men.
Bill Williams, who just happens to be putting together an expedition down the Mississippi.
Ken, are we?
I'm William Hamilton, of the Hamiltons that come from Scotland.
He shows up ready to head out into the wild frontier wearing the type of city clothes that you'd expect to find in the streets of St. Louis, not on the waterways and forests of the American West.
He must have cut a ridiculous figure, particularly for these grizzled mountain men.
Yes, sir, yes. And I aim to learn how to hunt and trap all out here in the West.
Hey, fellas, meet our new recruit. I don't know what we're gonna do with him in the mountains, though.
Well, that's fine. Well, that's just fine, because I aim to make my way west one way or another, and I will learn what it takes and what it means to be a free man on the frontier. And I'll do that with you or with somebody else.
This kid's got some sand. Hey, kid, you got some sand. If you want to go west with us, you're gonna have to get yourself outfitted. And don't have that purse with you when you come back.
I think with a little bit of afterthought, Williams remembers how green he was in his 20s. And maybe he sees a little bit of himself in Hamilton.
The Greenhorn has passed the first test, but before the expedition begins, he has to look the part.
How much?
Call it 14.
Hey, what do you give me for that?
It's right at the start of his mountain man career. He could easily turn tail and run, but he doesn't. He goes to a store, buys himself 2 sets of buckskins, and reemerges, ready to work.
How about that red roan back there? Y'all got him covered?
He's cinched up.
Make sure you cover that fire on the way out. We got to get out of here.
It's the ultimate example of fake it until you make it. Hamilton looks like he's ready to go, and people accept him for it.
Yeah, that's more like it. Might make something of you yet, boy.
My father says you're an Indian fighter. Best of them all.
I met every tribe from Missouri to the Gila. I fought them, I lived with them, traded with them. It ain't like what you read in them books. You'll see. Doc.
Yeah.
Hand me one of them Hawkins over there, will you?
Here you go.
Thanks, friend. This is a Hawken. You might need this.
Sir. This is a fine piece.
Yeah, it is. Belonged to a real good friend of mine. Got shot on the Snake River. We buried him.
Hamilton now has the gun and the gear of a mountain man, but it remains to be seen whether he has what it takes. Hamilton and Williams set out west from Missouri into what is now Nebraska. Days down the trail, the trappers meet a friendly group of Cheyenne, and Bill Hamilton's frontier education begins in earnest.
Before the meeting with the Cheyenne, Hamilton had only seen the crusty, grizzled side of Williams. But when Williams was with the Cheyenne, talking with them, Hamilton saw Bill Williams for what he really was for the first time.
Williams communicates with the Cheyenne in a way Hamilton's never seen.
When Bill Hamilton saw old Bill Williams signing with the Cheyenne, something really clicked in him. He was very intrigued by this.
Over centuries, tribal people on the American plains developed a universal sign language.
Tell the fellas to settle in, Bobby, all right?
What kind of language was that?
Hand talking, we call it. Out here, nobody speaks the same language. So we use hand talking so we can understand one another.
This is, hello, friend?
You got it. How'd you pick it up so quick?
Everybody learned it on the plains to be able to communicate with other tribes. So this way we could make distinctions of who we could trade with, who we could be peaceful with, and who we couldn't.
Hamilton soon learns that the ability to communicate leads to new opportunities to find adventure on the frontier.
His ability to sign communicates something to the people that he's more than someone coming in to exploit. He wants to have some communication with the people, to understand the people, to know the people, and so he's welcomed.
It's a badge of honor to be invited on a hunt, because to the Plains people, buffalo are the ultimate resource.
Is that all right by you?
Sure call. Stay on your horse. Don't break your neck.
Yeah. Good.
Good. Good.
It was our food, our clothing, our shelter, utensils, weapons. We literally utilize every piece of the bison. So for all intents and purposes, it was our 1,200-pound Walmart, if you will.
It must have been an extraordinarily heart-pumping, adrenaline-dumping moment for Hamilton to start out on this hunt. It was as dangerous as warfare.
With one shot, the young, untried Hamilton could silence any doubts about his place on the frontier. Greenhorn trapper Bill Hamilton is on his first buffalo hunt. And if he can make this shot, he will earn the respect of his Cheyenne allies.
It was a really big deal to take down your first buffalo. It was a rite of passage for the young Cheyenne, and it was equally a rite of passage for a young Bill Hamilton.
All right. All right, and then we saw him, right? And in a few jumps, Swift Runner and I, we came right up alongside the huge animal.
Hamilton is quickly taken by the romance of the West and begins rhapsodizing eloquently about his life on the frontier and his new comrades.
I took aim. Went down like a fallen tree. And the Cheyenne, they're all hooting and hollering. I feel like Daniel Boone out there, Bill. This is a moment and a memory that I shall never forget. A moment and a scene fit for gods. All of them. And,
Getting poetical.
all right, well, I know I said many words just now, Bill, but, well, I believe I'm finally understanding the draw of this place.
The mountain men were, of course, very pragmatic people, and they teased Bill Hamilton about being poetical. But I think that old Bill Williams also recognized that his young charge had fallen in love.
Following the bison hunt, Hamilton and Williams visit a Sioux encampment where Hamilton gets his next frontier lesson, the nuts and bolts of trading.
Yeah, well, I want to sell them to you, too. But I need something in return, friend.
But the trappers' casual days of trading don't last.
That's Pony. It's Pony, grab your weapon.
The next morning, the entire Sioux village wakes to total chaos.
Come on, Bill.
And Bill Hamilton faces his first real fight.
That Big Thunder tells me Pony rode in before dawn, run off some of our horses. And out here, you don't let a man take anything from you, especially horses. You got that?
Mm-hmm. The Sioux and the Pawnee were longtime inveterate enemies. And when the Pawnee stole Sioux horses, the Sioux were going to go after them. The horses were vital to any operation that any of these people were engaged in, and their honor was also at stake. So stealing horses was an act of war.
The Sioux chief Big Thunder quickly forms a posse to track down the Pawnee and recover their horses.
He wants one of us to go help get their ponies back. I'll get them back, Bill.
Hamilton, seeing all of the excitement and the angst in the Sioux village from their horses being stolen, he wants to fix that problem. He wants to be in on the solution.
You know, likely it's not them ponies are gonna scatter. It's gonna be hard to catch them all. You check your weapons like I told you?
I did.
And you follow Big Thunder, and you do what he says, and don't you dare get in his way.
Yes, sir.
You keep your wits about you, Bill. Hamilton, try not to get yourself killed.
Instead of learning to trade, young Bill Hamilton will get his first taste of frontier warfare. Hamilton and the Sioux spot the Pawnee thieves and the stolen horses. But the Pawnee see them coming.
Hey, there's only 2 of them.
The Pawnee recognize that they are vastly outnumbered. So they abandon the horses and run to take cover.
There's only 2 of them. Come on, let's go.
When the Sioux see the Pawnee enter the woods, they stop short.
Let's go.
The Sioux posse that was pursuing the Pawnee knew better than to approach too close to this grove of woods because they'd had plenty of experience.
But Hamilton charges ahead.
Hamilton sees an opportunity to prove himself to his new friends. But what he doesn't understand is that the Pawnees' retreat was not an impulsive act. It was a tactical one.
What he didn't realize, and that everyone else knew, was that he was probably falling into an ambush. And sure enough, when he hit the woods, Pawnee opened up with fire.
The Greenhorn Hamilton has ridden straight into a deadly trap. Trying to rescue his Sioux friend's stolen horses, Greenhorn Bill Hamilton has run headlong into a Pawnee ambush.
The Sioux had recovered some of the horses, but not all. And the temptation to try to get the rest of the horses was very strong. And Bill Hamilton succumbed to that temptation.
He realizes the mistake he's made, and so he spins his horse around and, as fast as he can, heads away from the grove.
When Hamilton fell into that trap, it was a classic rookie mistake.
Hamilton gets lucky and barely escapes with his life.
Good boy. So, you made a real big impression on Big Thunder and his men.
Did I?
Yeah, you surely did. Is the blasted dumbest fool I ever did meet.
There's a very fine line between bravery and foolishness, and old Bill Williams certainly felt that Hamilton had gone way over that line.
There were only 2 of them, all right? I was just trying to get a horse to
stay where you just listen. Did you notice that none of the Sioux followed you over there? You wonder why that was? I'll tell you why it was. Because none of them wanted to get their head shot off. I ought to send you packing back to your daddy with the first party headed for the States. And I don't know what you learned at school back east. But I don't reckon you half as smart as you think you are.
Hamilton is deeply embarrassed, once again, to have let down Williams and the other men who he's come to respect.
Though Hamilton's talent with sign language makes him invaluable to the party, he now has to rebuild trust with his mentor. He sees an opportunity when Williams acquires a brand new weapon for his men, the Colt Patterson revolver.
All right, fellas, we got 3 posts here. I want you to put one in the first, one in the second, one in the third. You got that?
A single person can shoot the equivalent of 5 men's worth of shots in a shorter period of time, and then is able to reload much faster. This is a revolution in frontier warfare.
I'll go first. Here we go. Get up there.
Having the extra firepower, having 5 shots in your hand doesn't mean anything if you don't hit your target. And it had to be learned, and Hamilton needed to develop the skill.
All right, your turn, Bill. See what you got. Get him. Go. Keep going. One more.
Unfortunately for Hamilton, it's going to take more than a few decent shots to get back in Bill Williams's good graces.
All right, we got a ways to go, don't we? Not bad, huh? Not bad, that's terrible. You shoot like that, a Blackfoot or Apache is gonna have you for supper, carve you up in little bitty pieces and cook you. You understand me? Now get off your horse, I got something I wanna show you.
In addition to these new revolvers that the mountain men have, they also embrace the old-fashioned side-by-side double-barrel shotgun. A shotgun is mainly a hunting weapon, but it's also a good defensive tool.
Come on over here with me. This here's a scatter gun. You watch what I'm doing. I want you to put two triggers in that post.
At short range, it was a far more effective combat weapon than a rifle. And you'd have 2 shots that were of very devastating effect.
Blackfeet get off 4 arrows in the time it takes you to reload and fire at rifle. With a shotgun, you shoot him in the gut. You take all the stuffing out of it. You got one chance before he kills you. You understand me?
Yeah.
All right, now you keep it clean. You might need it sooner than you think.
The brigade sets out on a nearly 900-mile trek to the northwest. But when they reach the Fort Boise trading post, they hear alarming news about their destination.
Where is everyone? I don't know. Thought there'd be more trappers up here by now.
So where are you headed?
Oregon Territory, Blue Mountains.
Thinking you'll trap, eh?
That's the plan.
Well, there's plenty of beaver to be had, and no trapping outfits. But that's for good reason. Bannock war parties control the area.
Venturing into new territory brings with it new dangers. There are other Indian tribes who, like Indian tribes before them, are not going to be too pleased at the sight of white men coming into their territory.
I think we can take care of ourselves.
And my 2 best friends in the whole world went to trap those streams. I told them not to go, but they didn't listen neither. Now they're both dead.
It's the last thing Hamilton and Williams want to hear. The fur trapping paradise might end up costing them their lives. Trappers Bill Hamilton and Bill Williams have big plans to trap the untapped streams of the Blue Mountains
And my two best friends in the whole world went to trap those streams, but they didn't listen neither. Now they're both dead.
But they've just learned that the Bannock people won't take kindly to their presence.
The Scottish trader basically warns them, all right, you're headed for some pretty rich territory, but proceed at your own risk, because you'll be lucky to come back alive.
Stay away. That's my advice.
Wait, we met Bannocks before. They were friendly.
Different Bannocks, my boy.
Different bands have different leaders, broken up into family clans, you might say.
These Walla Walla Bannocks are led by a chief named Howlick. You don't want to cross paths with them. If you're lucky, you'll lose everything you carry. If you're not, you'll die.
Despite the grim warning, Williams's men all agree to press on, determined to find new rivers to trap. But as soon as they reach the Camas Prairie, the trader's prediction comes true. When they run into a party of Bannocks led by Chief Howlack.
Now, this is a moment for Hamilton to do what he's supposed to do, translate.
No one else in the brigade can communicate with native peoples like Hamilton can. He picks up on the small clues that most of them miss. He's a very valuable asset for that reason.
He wants us to unpack our goods. And he says he wants to take our ponies.
The Bannock are demanding tribute, a gift of goods.
They're trying to maintain some sort of control over their own domain. This is their land. And that's how they present it to Williams.
Tell him we give him nothing, and we trap where we please.
But old Bill Williams won't give an inch.
Old Bill Williams was a classic ornery cuss, and he certainly wasn't going to be deterred by anyone from doing anything that he wanted to do, particularly trapping.
For Williams, those ponies and those supplies represent months of work, and most importantly, guaranteed safe passage back home. He'll never give that up.
We can smoke, and we can be friends. But we reserve the right to trap where we please, in the mountains, on the plains.
He does not smoke with dogs.
If he's looking for a fight, maybe he found it.
With the pushback at this moment, Chief Howlack is starting to suspect that this group is going to be very different than any other group he's encountered yet.
Go. Howlick makes clear, so clear, that you don't need to understand sign language to get it, that this won't be the last that Williams and his men will see of him.
He says something like,
Yeah, I know, white dogs, I'll wipe you out, something like that. We'll see about that. That's right, watch your back.
Yeah.
"12 miles up the trail, the trappers make camp and consider their next move.
Saw what they were signing to each other. They're putting the word out to the other bands. They will be back.
Figured as much. Well, we're probably gonna see him at first light. I guess we best dig in. Let's get at it, boys.
Hamilton knew from the sign talk that the Bannock were exchanging amongst themselves that they were going to come back and that an attack was imminent and that they had better prepare for it. And Bill Williams was a master at preparing for this kind of an attack.
Williams directs his men to fortify their camp with a makeshift corral and rifle pits.
All right, that ought to hold them. You and Howard, get our horses saddled. Tomorrow morning, you're gonna get broke in as a real mountain man. You and Howard stand watch tonight. You hear anything, you fire once in the air. You got that?
Yes, sir.
Y'all ready to do some fighting?
Yeah.
All right, keep your eyes open.
Yes, sir.
The trappers, and Bill Hamilton in particular, being one of the youngest among them, they were probably pretty keyed up. There was probably a mixture of trepidation and excitement and just really wanting to get it on.
That night, Hamilton keeps a sharp eye out for sneak attacks.
Oh, you see that? Something moved. Howard, I think you're seeing things. I think they're wolves. Right there.
They start to realize that what they're seeing looks like a small pack of wolves is closing in on their camp. Literally, they're looking out into the darkness and they can see the shapes of the heads and bodies and the hides of wolves.
No. Those ain't wolves.
Bill Hamilton and Bill Williams have entered unfriendly territory in search of new streams to trap, but they have provoked a furious response from the Bannock chief Howlack.
Oh, you see that? I think they're wolves. Right there.
What they very quickly realize is that the Bannock leader has sent out a small party of scouts to sort of probe the mountain men's position.
No. Those ain't wolves.
When the trappers aren't fooled, the Bannock scouts attack.
Hold your fire! Hold your fire, men. They'll be back. Now steady.
At first light, Williams's prediction comes true. The Bannocks return in force.
Here they come.
When morning comes, the threat appears, and it's a force of 100, 200, maybe as many as 300 Bannock warriors who quickly divide themselves into two parties so that they can attack the trappers from all sides.
Bill, do you know Howlack's band was this big?
Williams and Hamilton and these other mountain men, they subscribe to the idea, look, these streams and these places belong to everybody. And so we have as much right here as anyone. And this is where the Bannock and these mountain men really collide over the idea of who's supposed to be here.
All right, let's take cover. Wait for my orders.
Let's go.
Steady, boys.
The Bannock will employ a tactic used over and over again in fights like this. They'll rush the frontiersmen, they'll wait for them to shoot their single-shot rifles, and then while reloading, they'll sweep in with muskets and tomahawks and clubs and finish them off. That normally works, but they have no idea how much firepower Hamilton and Williams have on them at the time.
You scared, Bill?
I reckon I ought to be.
Hold on, lads.
With a chilling war cry, Howlack's warriors charge the vastly outnumbered trappers.
You keep your nerves.
Williams, being the canny survivor that he was, kept telling them to hold their fire, hold their fire, hold their fire, and wait until the Bannocks were well within range before they opened up.
Steady. Fire, Bill, now! Do it!
When the trappers opened fire, the effect was absolutely devastating because they were at close range, and those shotguns did heavy execution immediately.
Man up, boys!
Williams' men then do something that the Bannock were not anticipating. They throw down their shotguns and they charge at the remaining Bannock, brandishing their Colt revolvers.
After the barrage of shotgun fire, the trappers shock the Bannocks with a brazen charge on horseback. Leaving the safety of the fort is a risky move that will either seal the trappers' survival or bring about their defeat. Bill Hamilton is in the fight of his life against a band of Bannock warriors led by Chief Howlack. But after driving off the Bannock's first charge, leader Bill Williams orders a desperate counterattack. The revolutionary 5-shot Colt revolver has a devastating effect on the already reeling warriors.
This sudden volume of firepower is enough to send the Bannock into full retreat mode. So they overcome the Bannock, and the Bannock fall back. Bill Williams and the Mountain Men survive this battle.
Overwhelmed, Howlack's men make a full retreat.
Warriors had grit. We're gonna let them gather up the dead and wounded, show them a little respect.
So, what do we do now, old Bill?
What we come here to do, son. Trap. Let's get these horses watered.
Well, all right then.
News of the battle spreads, and just as Williams intended, Bannock leaders make a point of avoiding conflict with American trappers.
It was very important to the trappers that they maintain a reputation that you don't mess with us. You don't tell us where we can go. You don't tell us what we can do. And if you attack us, you will pay a heavy price for it.
In the months that follow, Hamilton continues to learn from old Bill Williams. But eventually, it comes time for the grizzled mentor and his protege to part ways.
How long you gonna be down in Santa Fe?
Well, as long as they have me, I reckon. My money, hard-earned earnings that is, tends to evaporate in Santa Fe. I ain't figured out how that happens.
Over the course of this apprenticeship, they develop something of a familial bond. Williams becomes like a second father to Hamilton.
What about you? What kind of plans you got?
Thinking about, one of them fellows heading for the Bighorns.
That's a fair adventure. Now look here. Got something for you. I already cut a hole in it so you can wear it like a serape. Should fit you.
I'll wear it well, Bill.
Hold that for me, would you?
There's a certain poignancy to their parting ways, but it's also, you're a man now and you're capable of being out on your own in these mountains. And Bill Hamilton's career proved that Bill Williams was right.
Thank you. You know, there's gonna come a time and all this will be settled. They're gonna bring in their laws and their fences. But at least we'll have seen it when it was good. I want you to remember that, Bill. You remember how it was.
While Hamilton's story is just beginning, Williams is coming to an end. He'll meet his fate at the hands of some Ute braves less than 2 years later.
It's a passing of the torch, not just from teacher to student, but from one era of the West to the next.
Bill Hamilton went on to a distinguished career as a mountain man, and he served as a scout for the U.S. military. He really spent most of the rest of his life conforming to that mountain man lifestyle that he had learned under old Bill Williams. And that poetical nature that Williams had teased him about when he was a kid, he never really lost that.
Here's a man who sees in his lifetime the whole history of the West unfold before him, and he comes to the West in the last days of the mountain man era. But he's going to live into the era of telephones, to the time of the automobile and the airplane.
Hamilton will live well into the 20th century, and he'll publish numerous books and articles about his adventures on the plains that'll preserve these stories for us still to use today. He was the last living vestige of the mountain man era in the Old West.